Marcus Chen locked the back door of his restaurant and stepped into the alley. The Portland night air was cool and damp. He carried a covered plate in his hands, moving carefully between the dumpsters and recycling bins. 3 months had passed since Marcus first saw the creature hiding behind the old wooden crates. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The thing was tall and thin, with a body that looked like purple glass. 6 limbs folded beneath it as it crouched in the shadows. Its large eyes reflected the streetlight like mirrors. Marcus had frozen that night, his heart pounding. The alien had frozen too, clearly terrified. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Marcus did something that surprised even himself. He set down the bag of kitchen scraps he was carrying and backed away slowly. The next morning, the food was gone. Now, Marcus made this trip every night after closing. He had learned what the alien could eat. Rice worked well. Vegetables were good, especially the soft ones. No meat seemed to agree with the creature's system. Marcus had spent hours reading everything he could find about known alien species online. None matched this being exactly, but he made educated guesses. Tonight's meal was his special vegetable stew with extra nutrients. Marcus had added supplements that seemed safe based on his research. He placed the plate in the usual spot, next to the blue recycling bin. "Hello, friend," Marcus said softly. He always spoke, even though the alien never answered. "I made something warming tonight. The temperature is dropping." A slight movement came from the shadows. The alien was there, watching. It always waited for Marcus to leave before eating. Marcus respected that boundary. Over the weeks, Marcus had noticed changes. The alien's purple exoskeleton looked less dull. It moved with slightly more energy. The desperate hunger in those mirror-like eyes had softened to something gentler. Trust was growing, slow and fragile as a seedling. The alien left gifts sometimes. Marcus found them next to the empty plates. Smooth stones arranged in careful patterns. Wildflowers that grew in the vacant lot nearby, tied with grass stems. Once, a piece of twisted metal polished until it shone like silver. Marcus kept every gift on a shelf in his apartment. Marcus's employees had noticed his routine but asked no questions. They knew their boss had been different since his wife Sarah died 2 years ago. Quieter. More focused on small acts of kindness. If he wanted to feed stray cats or whatever was in that alley, they respected his privacy. But this was no cat. Marcus studied the alien when he could. Old scars marked its body, visible even under the dim light. Some looked like burns. Others were deep grooves in the exoskeleton that had healed badly. This being had survived something terrible. The most telling detail was the fear. Whenever aircraft passed overhead, even commercial jets, the alien would disappear completely. It would not emerge again for hours. Something had hunted this creature. Or maybe it was running from something worse than hunters. Marcus never tried to force contact. He never brought cameras or friends. He told no one about his nightly visitor. Some instinct told him that exposure would mean danger for the alien, so he kept the secret and kept bringing food. Tonight felt different somehow. Marcus could not explain why. The air seemed heavier. He glanced up at the sky, seeing only clouds and the orange glow of city lights. "I will be back tomorrow," Marcus said to the shadows. "Sleep well." He turned to go, then paused. A sound came from the darkness. A soft clicking, like stones tapping together. The alien's way of acknowledging him, perhaps. Marcus smiled. The smile faded when he returned an hour later. Marcus had forgotten his keys inside. He groaned at his own carelessness and walked back through the alley toward the front entrance. That was when he saw the alien lying on the ground. "No, no, no," Marcus rushed forward, his forgotten keys completely out of mind. The alien was curled on its side, all 6 limbs pulled tight against its body. Its exoskeleton felt hot to the touch. A low vibration came from inside its chest, almost like a cat's purr but strained and painful. "What is wrong? What happened?" Marcus knelt beside the creature, his hands hovering uselessly. He had no idea how to help. Should he call someone? But who? A hospital would mean questions. Authorities, maybe government agencies. The alien had hidden for a reason. The creature's eyes opened slightly. They focused on Marcus with what looked like desperate pleading. One thin limb extended, touching Marcus's hand with surprising gentleness. Marcus made his decision. I will get help. I promise. Just hold on. He pulled out his phone, trying to think who to call. A doctor friend? The police? Maybe there was an emergency number for alien contact. His hands shook as he scrolled through options. Headlights suddenly flooded the alley. Marcus looked up, squinting against the bright beams. Two large black SUVs rolled into the narrow space. One from each end. They moved with purpose, blocking both exits. Their windows were tinted completely dark. No markings identified them. The vehicles stopped. Engines idled. No doors opened. Marcus stood slowly, placing himself between the alien and the nearest SUV. His heart hammered in his chest. Every protective instinct Sarah used to tease him about rose to the surface. Whatever you want, Marcus called out. We can talk about it, but this being needs medical help right now. The SUV doors opened in perfect synchronization. Dark figures stepped out into the alley light. And Marcus's world became much more complicated. 6 figures emerged from the SUVs. They wore dark suits that looked almost military but carried no visible weapons. 4 were human, moving with the careful precision of trained security personnel. The other 2 were clearly not from Earth. Marcus had never seen aliens in person before tonight, except for the one lying sick behind him. These 2 were similar to his hidden friend but different. Their exoskeletons gleamed with deep blue color instead of faded purple. They stood straighter, healthier. Their movements fluid and strong. The taller blue alien stepped forward. When it spoke, the words came through a small device attached to its chest. The translation sounded female and carried authority. Please step aside, human. We mean no harm. We are searching for someone very important to us. Marcus did not move. The alien behind me is sick. Whoever you are, whatever you want, medical help comes first. The alien tilted her head, studying Marcus with large golden eyes. She seemed surprised by his response. After a moment, she made a gesture to her companions. One of the humans quickly retrieved a silver case from the SUV. We have medical supplies, the alien said. But first, I must see who you are protecting. If this is truly who we seek, then we have been searching for 3 months. Marcus hesitated. The sick alien behind him made a small sound, almost like a whimper. That decided it. He stepped aside but stayed close. The blue alien approached slowly. When she saw the purple creature lying on the ground, she stopped completely. Her whole body went rigid. She spoke in her own language, words that sounded like wind chimes and clicking stones. The translation device did not activate. The second blue alien rushed forward with the medical case. He opened it and began scanning the sick one with devices that hummed and glowed. Marcus watched carefully, ready to intervene if needed. It is truly him, the female alien said, switching back to English. Her voice carried wonder and sadness. Elder Kethril. We found him at last. She turned to Marcus. I am Ambassador Thelrain of the Varath people. This being you have been sheltering is Kethril, one of our most honored elders. He disappeared during a diplomatic visit to your world. We have searched everywhere. Marcus frowned. If he is so important, how did he end up hiding in an alley? And why did no one help him before now? Thelrain's expression was hard to read on an alien face, but Marcus sensed shame there. Our customs are complicated. Kethril is a retired war hero. He ended a terrible conflict between our people and another species. For 50 years, he served as a symbol of peace, always in public, always on display, always being honored. That sounds exhausting, Marcus said quietly. It broke him, Thelrain admitted. During the reception here, he simply walked away. No guards, no attendants. He vanished into your city. We tried to find him, but Earth is very large. And Kethril is clever when he wishes to hide. The medical officer spoke rapidly in their language. Thelrain listened, then translated. He is malnourished and suffering from extreme stress. But someone has been caring for him. Someone adjusted food for Vareth biology without proper knowledge. The effort likely saved his life. All eyes turned to Marcus. I just brought him dinner, Marcus said, feeling suddenly self-conscious. He looked hungry. I did some research and guessed what might work. Thelrain stared at him. You fed an elder of the Varoth for months, asking nothing in return? Expecting no reward or recognition? He needed help. That seemed more important than questions. One of the human security officers whispered to his companion. Marcus caught the words, no international incident, and unauthorized contact. This situation was apparently more complicated than simple kindness. Thelrain knelt beside Kethril. She spoke to him in their language, gentle and respectful. The elder's eyes opened slightly. He looked at her, then passed her to Marcus. His thin limb reached out again toward the human. Marcus moved closer without thinking. He took the alien's hand carefully. You are going to be okay. These are your people. They will help you. Kethril made a sound, a series of soft clicks. The translation device activated. The voice that came through was old and tired. I do not want to go back. Please, human friend. Please do not let them take me back to that life. I would rather die quietly in this alley than disappear into ceremonies and speeches again. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He looked at Thelrain. Did you hear that? The ambassador's expression was pained. I heard. But I have my orders. The council demands his return. His disappearance has created political problems. Some factions claim Earth kidnapped him. Others say humans are hiding him to gain advantage in trade negotiations. The situation threatens everything Kethril fought for. So you will drag him back to the life that destroyed him? Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Force him to be a symbol again until he breaks completely? We honor our elders, Thelrain said, but her voice lacked conviction. It is our way. Your way failed him, Marcus shot back. A random human with a restaurant succeeded where your entire culture could not. Maybe that should tell you something. Kethril squeezed Marcus's hand weakly. They cannot help following tradition. It is stronger than compassion in Vareth society. That is why I ran. That is why no one could reach me, even when they saw me suffering. The rules said they could not approach an elder directly without formal permission. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard, Marcus said bluntly. Thelrain's security team shifted uncomfortably. One of the human officers stepped forward. Sir, you need to understand the diplomatic situation here. This alien is basically foreign royalty. You have been harboring him without authorization. That creates serious legal issues. Marcus looked down at Kethril. The old alien's eyes pleaded silently. 3 months of trust hung in the balance. 3 months of quiet companionship, and small gifts, and shared moments in a dirty alley. He asked me not to let you take him, Marcus said firmly. So I will not. Not until we find a better solution. The alley fell silent, except for the hum of the SUV engines. Thelrain studied Marcus with her golden eyes. The human security officers looked uncomfortable, clearly uncertain how to handle a restaurant owner challenging an ambassador. You would defy a diplomatic delegation? Thelrain asked. Her tone was curious rather than angry. You risk much for someone you barely know. I know enough, Marcus said. I know he was scared and hungry when I found him. I know he has been healing these past months. I know he trusts me. That matters more than politics. The medical officer finished treating Kethril with devices from the silver case. The elder's breathing grew steadier, though he still looked weak. He kept his hand wrapped around Marcus's fingers. Thelrain made a decision. She gestured for her team to step back, then sat on the ground across from Marcus and Kethril. For a Vareth ambassador to sit in a dirty Earth alley seemed significant somehow. Tell me, Marcus Chen of Earth, she said, reading his name from the restaurant sign visible at the alley's entrance. What do you propose? Kethril cannot stay hidden forever. His existence is now known to my government and yours. Both will demand answers. Marcus thought carefully. He had no experience with diplomacy or alien politics. But he understood people. Whether they had 2 legs or 6, let him choose, Marcus said simply. Ask Kethril what he wants. Really ask him. Not as a symbol or an elder or a political tool. Ask him as a person. Thelrain was quiet for a long moment. Our society does not work that way. Elders are revered. Their wishes are anticipated and fulfilled before they must speak. To ask directly would suggest we failed in our duty to understand their needs. But you did fail, Marcus pointed out gently. He ran away because no one understood what he actually needed. Maybe it is time to try a different approach. One of the human officers spoke up. The State Department is going to want this handled through proper channels. We cannot have private citizens making deals with foreign entities. Kethril is not a foreign entity, Marcus countered. He is a living being who deserves to make decisions about his own life. Where I come from, that is called freedom. Kethril's translation device activated again. His voice was stronger now, after the medical treatment. The human speaks truth, that my own people have forgotten. I was honored, until honor became a prison. I was celebrated, until I lost myself in the celebrations. I came to Earth hoping to find peace before I died. Thelrain looked pained. Elder, we never meant to cause you suffering. Everything we did was to show respect for your sacrifice. I know, Kethril said softly. That makes it harder to explain. How can I complain when everyone means well? How can I say the honors feel like chains? So I said nothing, and smiled during ceremonies, until I could smile no more. Marcus squeezed the elder's hand gently. You do not have to go back to that life. We can find another way. What other way exists? Thelrain asked. If Kethril stays on Earth without Vareth's support, he will be seen as a defector. If he returns home, the cycle begins again. I see no middle path. Then we create one, Marcus said with more confidence than he felt. What if Kethril stays here under human care? But with Vareth approval and support. He could be a cultural ambassador or something. Available for important events by choice, but living a normal life otherwise. Arna. The security officers immediately began objecting. The legal complications alone would be massive. The precedent it would set. The potential for abuse. Marcus listened to their concerns, his mind racing for solutions. Wait, Thelrain said, raising one hand for silence. This idea has merit. We have cultural exchange programs with other species. None involving elders, but the framework exists. Kethril could be the first exchange elder. Living among humans, sharing Vareth wisdom when he chooses, but not bound by constant ceremony. The council would never approve, the Vareth medical officer said quietly. They will say humans cannot provide proper care for an elder. They will cite 1,000 traditions being broken. Let them cite traditions, Kethril said, his voice gaining strength. I ended a war that killed millions. I earned the right to choose my final years. If the council values tradition more than my well-being, then tradition has failed its purpose. Marcus felt hope rising. What if we do this properly? Documentation, official agreements, medical support from both species. I will learn whatever I need to know about Vareth care. Thelrain can visit regularly to ensure standards are met. We make it so legitimate that no one can claim impropriety. You would take on such responsibility? Thelrain asked. Caring for an elder of another species? The commitment would be enormous. Marcus looked at Kethril, remembering 3 months of quiet evenings, the trust built stone by stone, the small gifts left beside empty plates. The feeling of purpose that had been missing since Sarah died. I already made the commitment, Marcus said. I just did not realize it was official. Thelrain stood, pacing the alley. Her security team watched her carefully. The human officers were speaking rapidly into their phones, clearly reporting to superiors. The situation was spiraling beyond a simple recovery mission. I cannot authorize this alone, Thelrain finally said. But I can propose it to the council. I can argue that Kethril's choice should be honored. That keeping him safe and healthy matters more than keeping him on Vareth soil. Will they listen? Marcus asked. I do not know, but I will try. For Kethral's sake, and because you showed me something important tonight. You treated our greatest hero like a person who needed help. Nothing more. Nothing less. Perhaps we forgot how to do that. Kethral made a sound like soft chimes. Thank you, Thelrain. You were always the wisest of the young ones. I am glad they sent you to find me. The ambassador's exoskeleton seemed to shift color slightly, darkening with what might have been a blush. I will do everything possible, Elder. Marcus started to relax, then tensed again. 3 more vehicles were entering the alley. These were official government cars, marked with seals and flags. Behind them came a larger transport vehicle, with Varath symbols glowing on its side. Thelrain's expression shifted to alarm. That is the High Counselor's personal transport. And your Earth government officials. They must have been alerted when we found Kethral. Is that bad? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. Very bad, Kethral whispered. They will not ask what I want. They will simply take me. The new vehicles stopped in a formation that blocked the entire alley. Doors opened, and people emerged with the confidence of those accustomed to authority. 3 humans in expensive suits came from the government cars. From the Varath transport stepped an imposing alien figure, taller than Thelrain, with an exoskeleton that gleamed deep crimson under the streetlights. High Counselor Varath, Thelrain said quietly, her tone respectful but tense. I did not expect you personally. The crimson alien moved forward with measured steps. His voice through the translator was deep and commanding. When our greatest elder is found, I come personally. Step aside, Ambassador. This matter is beyond your authority now. The human officials approached from the other side. The woman leading them had gray hair and sharp eyes. I am Director Sarah Morrison, State Department. This situation falls under federal jurisdiction. The alien will be transferred to proper facilities immediately. Marcus felt Kethral's hand tighten around his own. The elder was shaking now. Not from illness but from fear. 3 months of peace was about to be ripped away by people who saw him as property. Not a person. No, Marcus said loudly. The single word echoed off the alley walls. Everyone stopped and stared at him. Director Morrison's expression hardened. Excuse me? This is not a negotiation, Mr. Chen. You have been harboring an extraterrestrial without authorization. That alone could bring serious charges. I was feeding a hungry person. Marcus shot back. Last I checked, that was not a crime. And he is not going anywhere until someone asks what he actually wants. High Counselor Varath spoke with cold authority. Human, you do not understand Varath culture. Elders do not make such decisions. We decide what honors them best. Kethral will return home where he belongs. He ran away from home, Marcus said, standing up, but keeping himself between the officials and Kethral. That should tell you something about where he belongs. Thelrain stepped forward nervously. High Counselor, if I may speak, Kethral has expressed wishes to remain on Earth. Perhaps we should consider. Silence, the counselor commanded. You were sent to retrieve him, not to question policy. The elder returns tonight. Marcus felt his anger rising. These people were talking about Kethral like he was an object to be moved around. You cannot just take him. This is still Earth. We have laws about individual rights. Director Morrison gave him a cold smile. Actually, Mr. Chen, the laws are quite complex regarding extraterrestrial beings. Kethral entered Earth illegally, without going through proper channels. Technically, he has no legal status here at all. Then we give him legal status, Marcus said desperately. Asylum. Refugee protection. Something. He is running from a life that was destroying him. That counts for something. He is running from being honored, the High Counselor said dismissively. From respect and comfort. This is not persecution. It is if he did not want it, Marcus argued. If someone locks you in a golden cage, it is still a cage. Kethral tried to stand but was too weak. He spoke urgently through his translator. Please, listen to the human. He understands what you cannot see. I am grateful for every honor. But I am also tired. So very tired. I want rest, not more ceremonies. I want quiet evenings, not public speeches. Is that so wrong? The High Counselor's tone softened slightly, but remained firm. Elder, you do not understand the damage your disappearance has caused. Factions claim Earth kidnapped you to gain advantage in trade negotiations. Others say you were running from scandal. The only way to stop these rumors is your return. So use me to fix political problems again, Kethril said bitterly. Parade me before cameras. Let me speak the words others write. Pretend I chose this. The same pattern that drove me away. Director Morrison checked her phone, frowning at a message. This conversation is pointless. We have our orders. The Vareth have formally requested Kethril's return, and we have agreed to facilitate transfer. Mr. Chen, step aside or face federal charges. Marcus looked around desperately. The security teams were moving closer. Thelrain looked torn between duty and conscience. Kethril was trembling behind him. Everything was falling apart. Then Marcus heard a voice he recognized. Boss? What is happening out here? His head chef, Roberto, stood at the back door of the restaurant. Behind him were the other evening staff members. They must have heard the commotion and come to investigate. Roberto, go back inside, Marcus said. This does not concern you. Looks like it concerns you plenty, Roberto said, studying the scene. And we look out for each other here, remember? The other employees nodded. Maria, the dishwasher. Young Tommy, who bussed tables. Even old Mrs. Chen from the dry cleaners next door had come out to see what was happening. More people emerged from nearby buildings. The alley was no longer isolated. Witnesses were gathering, phones out, recording everything. Director Morrison looked annoyed. This is a secure operation. Everyone needs to clear the area immediately. This is our neighborhood, Mrs. Chen said firmly. We have a right to be here. Chen, Roberto crossed his arms. And Marcus is good people. If he says this alien friend of his needs help, then he needs help. We trust his judgment. Marcus felt something shift in the atmosphere. The officials had expected to handle this quietly. Now, they had an audience. Now, it was public. High Counselor Varath seemed uncertain for the first time. This changes nothing. Kethril still must return. At least let him rest first, Thelrain pleaded. He just received medical treatment. Moving him now could be dangerous. The medical officer confirmed this with a nod. His condition is stable but fragile. Transport should wait until morning at minimum. Director Morrison and the High Counselor exchanged glances. Neither looked happy. But they were trapped by their own emphasis on proper care. Fine, Morrison said curtly. We secure the area tonight. Transfer happens at dawn. Mr. Chen, you can stay with your friend until then. But security remains in place. As officials began positioning guards and setting up barriers, Marcus knelt beside Kethril again. I am sorry, Marcus whispered. I tried. Kethril's hand found his. You gave me 3 months of peace, human friend. That is more than I dared hope for. Thank you. But Marcus was not ready to give up. As night deepened over the alley, he began forming a desperate plan. The night stretched long in the alley. Security teams set up portable lights and barriers. Officials made phone calls and filed reports. Marcus sat beside Kethril on a blanket Roberto had brought from the restaurant. The old alien rested his head against the brick wall, exhausted from the evening's stress. Around 3 in the morning, something changed. Kethril's breathing became rapid and shallow. His exoskeleton grew hot again, hotter than before. The medical officer rushed over with his equipment, scanning urgently. He spoke rapidly in Varath to the High Counselor. What is wrong? Marcus demanded. What is happening? Thelrain translated, her voice tight with worry. The stress has triggered a cascade failure in his system. It is like your heart attacks, but affecting multiple organs at once. Without immediate intensive care, he will die within hours. Director Morrison was already on her phone. I am calling for an ambulance to the nearest trauma center. Human medicine cannot help, the medical officer said flatly. They do not understand Varath biology. He needs our ship's medical bay. Then take him there, Marcus said. Forget politics. Save his life. The High Counselor hesitated. The medical bay is not authorized for use on Earth soil without proper clearances. The diplomatic protocols will not matter if he dies. Thelrain interrupted sharply. Counselor, I am requesting emergency medical exemption under crisis provisions. Marcus stood up, facing both the Varath and human officials. Listen to yourselves. You are letting paperwork and pride kill someone. Is this really who you want to be? A human doctor had arrived with the ambulance crew. She knelt beside Kethril, checking his vital signs with her equipment. I cannot read these properly, but his temperature is dangerously high, and his pulse is erratic. This patient needs immediate intervention. We need to combine our knowledge, Thelrain said suddenly. Human emergency medicine and Varath biology expertise. Work together or lose him. The medical officer looked at the High Counselor for permission. For a long moment, the Crimson alien said nothing. Then he gave a sharp nod. Do it. Use whatever resources you need. Kethril must not die because we followed rules instead of our hearts. What followed was controlled chaos. The human doctor and Varath medical officer began sharing information rapidly. They worked over Kethril with combined equipment. Human monitors tracking vital signs, while Varath devices stabilized his failing systems. Marcus held the elder's hand, whispering encouragement. Stay with me, friend. You survived a war. You can survive this. Director Morrison watched the cooperation with fascination. I have never seen anything like this. Two completely different medical systems working together in real time. Sometimes crisis creates opportunities, Thelrain said quietly. Forces us past barriers we built ourselves. The human doctor explained her approach to trauma care while working. We treat the whole patient, not just the physical symptoms. Stress, fear, emotional pain all affect recovery. You cannot separate mind from body. The Varath medical officer paused, considering her words. He spoke slowly. We never addressed Kethril's emotional wounds. We managed his physical needs, ensured his comfort, but ignored the pain inside. We thought keeping him busy with honors would help him forget the war. Instead, we prevented him from healing. Healing takes time and space, the doctor said. Safety to process trauma, permission to feel without performing. As dawn began breaking over Portland, Kethril's condition finally stabilized. The combined treatment had worked. He would live. The medical team sat back, exhausted but relieved. High Counselor Varath approached Marcus. The human doctor is correct. We failed Kethril by treating him as a symbol instead of a person. We gave him everything except what he truly needed. The freedom to simply exist without expectation. So what happens now? Marcus asked. The counselor was quiet for a long time. Then he knelt beside Kethril, speaking in their own language. The conversation lasted several minutes. When it ended, both aliens looked peaceful. I have apologized, the counselor said through his translator, for allowing tradition to override wisdom, for not asking what he wanted, for making his pain invisible through excessive honor. Kethril responded weakly but clearly. And I have explained what this human did that you could not. He saw me as someone who needed help. Nothing more complicated than that. No ceremony. No protocol. Just kindness. It allowed me to remember who I was before the war, before the fame. Just Kethril, enjoying simple meals and quiet evenings. Director Morrison stepped forward. I have been authorized to offer a proposal. If the Varath agree, we can establish Kethril as the first cultural exchange elder, legal status on Earth, Varath medical support, and complete autonomy over his own schedule and appearances. He would live with Marcus? Thelrain asked, hopefully, if he chooses. The framework allows for human guardianship with oversight from both governments. Regular check-ins, medical evaluations, but no forced public duties. The High Counselor considered this. It breaks many traditions. But tonight proved our traditions need breaking. If Kethril agrees, the Vareth Council will support this arrangement. We owe him that much after 50 years of service. Kethril looked at Marcus. Would you accept such responsibility, human friend? I am old and sometimes difficult. The commitment would be large. Marcus smiled. I already set a place for you at dinner every night. Making it official changes nothing except the paperwork. 6 months passed. The alley behind Marcus's restaurant was transformed. The old wooden crates were gone, replaced by a beautiful garden. Vareth plants grew alongside earth flowers, creating colors that should not work together but somehow did. A comfortable bench sat in the center where Kethril could rest and watch the sunset. Marcus brought 2 plates outside. Setting them on the small table Thelrain had gifted them. The ambassador visited monthly now, checking on Kethril, but mostly just sharing meals and stories. The council wants to know if you will speak at the peace anniversary ceremony next month, Marcus said, sitting beside his friend. Kethril considered this. Perhaps. It has been long enough. And this time, I choose to go. That makes all the difference. Other aliens had begun visiting the restaurant. Word spread about the place where species mixed freely, where an elder could sit in peace without ceremony. Marcus found himself becoming an unexpected bridge between worlds. Did you ever imagine this? Kethril asked. When you first left food for a scared alien, in the shadows? No, Marcus admitted. I just saw someone who needed help. Everything else followed from that. Kethril made the chiming sound that meant contentment. Sometimes the greatest changes begin with the smallest kindness. You proved that. Marcus Chen. 1 meal at a time. They ate together as the sun set over Portland. 2 friends from different worlds, proof that compassion needs no translation and kindness recognizes no borders. In the garden where fear once lived, peace had taken root and grown strong. The end.